Great. Welcome, everyone. This is the ICTR K12 Mentor Career Development Awards Information Session. This session will be recorded and we will be posting this on our ICTR website. And we can also forward this session recording as well as the PowerPoints slides to you for your future reference. I just want to quickly introduce our panelist here. You have Dr. Wilbur Chen. He is the director of our CTSA K12 program, and we have Erin Golombuski. She is our co-director of our K program. And joining us as well is Dr. Yanin Hu, who is one of our prior K scholars, CTSA scholars, and he has taken time out of his surgical schedule to join us and provide some insight about his experience with the K program. And thank you so much. I'm Wanda Fink. I am the Director of Operations for the ICTR. We also have Lena Rose. She is our program specialist here for our Scholars Program. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to you, Wilbur and Erin, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. As Wanda introduced me, I'm Erin Golombuski, and it's a pleasure to be with you here today. With Dr. Chen, we direct the K12 award, part of the ICTR, and we have the wonderful opportunity to work with young researchers getting started in their career. And it's been a wonderful experience for me. And so we have a wonderful team of support, as you've seen with Wanda's introduction there and Lena's presence today. So we have a great team behind the scenes supporting our scholars as well. And we think it's a great experience for one and all. So I see that, the screen's set up a little bit differently than a normal Zoom. I see 11 attendees as well. So we are delighted to have you joining us today. It looks like you would be able to send chats to the panelists, I believe. And so if that's your preferred way of communication, please go ahead and we'll try to address any questions by the end of the presentation. So we'll
Erin,
go ahead.
just to jump in, we can allow everyone to talk at some point. So once we move through the presentation, then we can go ahead and allow unmute people so they have that opportunity.
Wonderful. And so I am, as the screen indicates, I'm the Vice Dean and I am in the School of Graduate Studies. And I will go ahead and let Dr. Chen introduce himself.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Wilbur Chen. I'm an adult infectious disease physician by training. I'm also the chief of the Division of Geographic Medicine within the Department of Medicine. And I am the co-director with Erin of this K12 program. So, our idea, as Erin said, is that we want to facilitate the growth training experience of young academic research scientists. And this is an opportunity that's open to the university at wide. And we're going to talk about this request for applications for the new class of K12 scholars that we would like to have. So we are joined by Lena Rosefound and the director of the ICTR, the Institute for Clinical and Translational Research, is basically that is the overarching umbrella system or ecosystem that we call it, under which this K12 program functions. And the ICTR is really at the university level, so it's not maintained within any particular school. We have the idea that we want to have nurses, dentists, social workers, people from medicine, graduate studies. We also have this opportunity open to faculty members from College Park and faculty members from Baltimore County who have medical research-minded careers. So it's just a great opportunity, again, for joining in this K-12 program. Next slide. Aaron, do you want to go ahead and do this slide? And just let me know when you want me to jump in. I think we'll just go back and forth and alternate.
Perfect. So as you can see here, we're training leaders, future leaders in clinical and translational research. And two parts of that are to train them in research design and methods. We know that some of you who have been clinicians and trained as clinicians may really be in need of the research design and methods training as you dive into the research projects. And the ability to work collaboratively across the campus within other disciplines, within other universities, to generate new knowledge and to improve health. So the K12 has a number of components. There is a didactic training piece that leads to an advanced degree, and we'll get into the opportunities for this a little bit more later, but that can be anything from a certificate, post-baccalaureate certificate, to a master's degree, to a PhD. And our scholars have done all of those things. And it's really specifically designed to meet your needs. We also provide help developing and executing the research project and mentorship within the interdisciplinary and collaborative environment. So our scholars come with a very clear idea on who their mentoring team will be, and we provide additional guidance on others that may step in on a temporary or short-term basis to provide additional mentorship. And there's a number of career development activities within both UMB, within the schools, and across universities with Hopkins. Next slide. So as I just mentioned, the ICTR is a cross-Baltimore collaboration. Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland, Baltimore are the two grantee institutions for the grant. And we try, again, the mission is to advance and integrate clinical and translational research activities and training. So the funding supports both the career development or any coursework, the didactic training piece, as well as creating that supportive environment for you in mentorship. We have a number of collaborations, which we'll talk about, get into a little bit more later, with the Clinical Research Scholars Program. We, again, offer didactic training. There are many programs between the two institutions, as well as those at College Park and UMBC that may be of interest to you. There is a monthly grants in progress session where scholars can come and talk about what they're preparing for. Many of our scholars are preparing to submit K08, and they can talk about their progress with that, their specific aims, and we can again provide some specific mentorship ideas for them. There's seminar opportunities, yearly retreats, and so we just had our annual retreat, and the past topics have included health equity. Last year, 2025, we talked about artificial intelligence, and this year we had the opportunity for our scholars to understand a little bit more about how the media works and to do some practice interviews to develop their own media spiel. And so to practice how they might talk about their research during an interview. And I think it was a great session. I really enjoyed learning a bit more about what the scholars are doing in the way that they would present it to the public. Next slide. Thank you. So let's talk about funding. Everyone's curious about that, right? The ICTR provides $15,000 per year towards the cost of research, course tuition and fees, and travel. The travel is capped at $2,500, and the awardees department also commits to provide support. So that's protected time, which varies from 50 to 75% of protected time, depending on subspecialty. And the purpose of that variation is we want you to stay at the forefront of your clinical prowess, but also we want to protect your time so that you're making progress on your research projects. Research, education, and training activities for 3 years. Now, if you happen to secure a mentored K award or an independent R, like an R01, that does truncate the K12. So you'll move on to that new funding, which is the goal of the K12. This is a training opportunity for you to move on to the next thing to advance your research. The tuition for a full-time faculty undergoing a master's degree will be supported by tuition remission here at UMB, and the K12 covers the course fees in that scenario. For UMBC applicants, if we have any of our colleagues from UMBC on this call, we work closely with Carl Steiner, the Vice President for Research at UMBC, and the funding models are slightly different. So we'd encourage a conversation with him before finalizing your application. And similarly, at College Park, UMCP applicants, our contact there is Dr. Sherrod Dalal to talk about how the funding might vary at a different institution. All right. So the expectation is that the K scholars, the funded K scholars, will be expected to submit an individually mentored K award. You can see different types that we recommend here, and that depends on your project and your goals, or an independent award from a federal agency by year 2. Now, that's not to say those are the only awards that you might be seeking, but that is the goal of this program. So some of our scholars also seek foundation awards or other types of grants during their time as a K scholar. And again, the goal for that is by year 2, with the recognizing that research is not linear, and we do work within your personal circumstances and the research environment and the federal funding environment to sketch out the best path for you. Wilbur, would you like to take over from here?
Yep, absolutely. So eligibility. If you're an applicant and you're wondering if you might be eligible, you do need to be a full-time faculty member up to the rank of assistant professor. So unfortunately, those of you that have the rank of associate professor or thereafter would not be eligible. You also need to be within 5 years of your initial appointment of your rank. You can be, at least for the ones that are applying from this campus, UMB, from the schools of dentistry, law, medicine, nursing, pharmacy, social work, and graduate studies. But as we said again, you may be an applicant that's eligible from either the Baltimore County or the College Park campuses of the University Systems of Maryland. And so again, you still need to be a faculty member, no higher than assistant professor and no longer than 5 years from your appointment. We are considering those people who have research or health professional doctoral degrees or the equivalent. And so you can see that we've listed some of those degrees. Epidemiologists, behavioral scientists, nurses, again, we're not talking about just medical people, but if you have clinically relevant doctoral degrees, then you are eligible. Postdocs, fellows with a pending faculty appointment is mentioned here. Now, you may be transitioning from your postdoc to the faculty appointment. If you have a faculty appointment that is not contingent on the K12, but basically is pending, you're just waiting for, again, July 2026, you will be a faculty member, then you should be eligible. But if your faculty appointment is contingent upon getting this award or some other contingency, then you may not be eligible. Well, you'll not be eligible if it's contingent upon this award. But we really want the eligibility to people who have secured a faculty appointment. You have to have U.S. citizenship, permanent residency, or be a non-citizen national at the time that you are submitting this application. Next slide. Another contingency for eligibility is that you have to have 50 to 75% of your time and your salary protected by your department or division. So this will be, again, for you as an applicant, a conversation with your departmental or division leadership to secure that protection, and that you will have to have that documented in a letter of support that will accompany your application that specifically states that 50 to 75% protected time and salary that's covered for 3 years. You must be a person who's committed to a career focused on clinical investigation, and you must commit to a training schedule that includes didactic training or other types of training. And again, a master's degree or maybe a certificate would be sufficient to satisfy this training element of the eligibility. You should identify at least one UMB mentor and preferably an interdisciplinary team of mentors, which might include Hopkins faculty, to be part of your mentorship team as part of your application. Again, mentorship is a very large part of the consideration, your mentoring team of the application. So in addition to your research question and your research plan, you should have a training and education plan that includes the master's degree or certificate, and you should have a mentoring team. Next slide. For eligibility, you cannot have been a PI on your own R01 or a sub-project lead investigator on a P-series, so a program grant where there are a number of projects and you couldn't be a lead on the project, which is basically the equivalent of an R01, or a U-series grant like a U19, where you were the PI of one of the programs within the U19, because that's really the equivalent of an R01. And you cannot be the recipient of a prior K grant, individual K grant. But if you did have an R03, a small sized, or an R21 as a PI, that would be allowable. It's just one of these larger sized individual grants. Let's see, research areas. So what are we looking for? What types of research are supported? Research studies with human subjects or the materials that are human origin. And that might be even cognitive phenomena, surveys, those sorts of things, for which an investigator directly interacts with human subjects. That's what we're looking for, the human element. So examples of clinical research might be patient-oriented research, epidemiology and behavioral studies, outcomes research and health services research, comparative effectiveness research. So what's not supported is a project that's really performed solely in the lab and which is using only de-identified banked or specimens, human specimens, or perhaps only animal studies, those sorts of things. That's not going to be supported by the K12 program. You'll not be eligible. Next slide. Aaron, why don't you take these?
So what does the training experience look like? And we will have the opportunity to hear from Yinan who in a few minutes. But one of the highlights for our scholars is that protected time piece where they can really focus on their research and their career skills. Again, 50 to 70% of the time. Tuition's covered through tuition remission. And for those of you who are in that assistant professor category or research associate, even any UMB employee has tuition remission. And so even if you're not funded by this K, I do encourage you to think about how the tuition is covered. Now, this grant also covers the fees that are associated with tuition, which can be expensive for young scholars as well. There are structured didactic courses in your degree program. You'll have the opportunity to practice, get hands-on experience in design, conducting your own research, analyzing that research and working with a clinical team. And as Wilbur just mentioned, interdisciplinary mentorship. As he was talking, I was thinking that I think all of our K scholars right now have an interdisciplinary mentorship team of quite a few mentors. And so that's highly encouraged. There's a number of required career development activities. We have monthly seminars and check-ins. As I mentioned, grants in progress earlier to really analyze how you are doing with the grant preparation, enrichment seminars, and yearly retreats. There's also an opportunity to travel to the Translational Science Annual Meeting, the ACTS meeting, which is held annually, and scholars are welcome to give poster presentations at that. The ICTR also offers biostatistical support. And so these are just wonderful ways to leapfrog your research forward. So what does this look like on a timeline? It's a 3-year of support. In year 1, you're really focused on that the didactic training. There's foundational curriculum, biostatistics, research ethics, health informatics, for example, continuing with leadership training. There's career development, as we mentioned, grants in progress. So you'll have the opportunity to hear what your colleagues are doing and respond to them, maybe giving you some ideas on your future progress. UMB and Hopkins have joint seminars and enrichment series, and also opportunities for career development through things like CARDI and School of Medicine's Career Development Office, and your research is ongoing during that time. In year 2, you may submit something like a K23 or another K award. So this is showing in the second part of year 2. And that will vary based on the type of award you're preparing for, your publication record, your mentorship recommendations as well. And then hopefully by year 3, you are funded by another award. But if not, this award continues through that year 3. So what do we expect of you as a young scholar? And as we've mentioned, you will be completing that coursework that's leading to the post-baccalaureate certificate, master's degree, or PhD. You'll be submitting a K award or a K23 or equivalent NIH award or through another federal agency. Or maybe you'll be ready to submit an R01 by the end of year 2. Earlier applications are certainly encouraged if you come in very well prepared and feel that your research is ready to submit and your mentor team is on board. We will strongly support you and guide you through that process even earlier. Our scholars present at the ACTS meeting. This year it's Minneapolis, right? Yes. And so that will...
Milwaukee, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. I'm sorry. I have Minneapolis on the brain. So that meeting is in Milwaukee. And then the following year, I believe it will be back in Washington, D.C. And so those are held every April. And then there's regular progress reports, and we track an IDP for each individual scholar on an annual basis. Next slide. So for your mentors, we expect that your mentors will be meeting with you at least every 2 weeks. And for those with multiple mentor teams, this could be a joint meeting of all of you. Sometimes that doesn't work, so you could meet with your mentors each by themselves as well. We do expect them to provide you with substantial and continuous feedback and help guide your career development. They do submit mentor reports to us, again, using that annual IDP. We hear from your mentors. And if there is an issue, we will certainly talk to your mentors individually or with you, whatever the situation warrants. We expect that they will attend your grants in progress presentation, but they're not required to attend all the grants in progress presentations. Our mentors go through the UMB mentor training, which is hosted through the School of Medicine's Career Development Office, so that we can verify that you are in good hands. Even with our senior mentors, we do require that mentor skills development workshop. And they also participate in other ICTR activities. Next slide. All right. So We meet with our scholars monthly, and this slide provides an overview on some of the evaluation that happens and some of the presentation opportunities. So the ACTS meeting, the Annual Translation Science Conference, again, that's shown with the green arrows, and that's held in April of each. And then there's also an individual development plan. I'm struggling a little bit with this slide. The black arrows are for the biannual evaluation. So those are shown kind of at the end of the spring and the end of the summer each year. All right, next slide. Wilbur, would you like to jump in and talk about our relationship with Heinz?
Yeah. So, just so that you know, the ICTR is a joint kind of venture with Johns Hopkins University. So they also have a K-12 program, almost like a mirror image, but there are, of course, institutional differences. So you'll be engaged as a K-12 scholar from our university with the JHU scholars, and so we'll have joint seminars. These grants in progress that you heard about monthly also includes scholars from Johns Hopkins, in addition to ours, as indicated by UMB. We also have a special relationship with Columbia University, and so their scholars will also participate in the grants in progress. There are writing accountability groups, WAGs, that are joint ventures with Hopkins. We also have the ability to have roundtable reviews of specific games as part of a grants review process. There's the translational science meeting that is annually, and that is in Milwaukee this year. Again, that is jointly done with Johns Hopkins scholars as well. There are other weekly meetings that you'll be invited to between the UMB and the JHU, and you'll get to know the program directors at JHU and the administrative personnel, as well as during your experience as a K-12 scholar. So part of working with JHU is that we have some tools. So some of them are the surveys, questionnaires, the ways that we evaluate you biannually or annually. We'll be using validated tools that are actually shared and being implemented at Hopkins as well. And this is basically meant to track you as a scholar, how you're performing, and your mentorship as well. There's also a visiting scholars program in which we have other CTSA supported institutions that may be able to trade spaces. So that also might be part of the ecosystem that you might be experience as part of the K-12 program. Next slide. Okay, so the K-12 applicants submit the K-12 application at the website. We want you to know of some of the resources. So there's an active link for the Masters of Science and Epidemiology in Clinical Research track. We also have certificate programs in clinical research. We also have certificate programs in other realms. So there's a certificate program in data science. Really, again, the intent is that we're not giving you all the possible links, but we want you to know that at the graduate school that there are a number of resources so that as you're developing your own application, that you're developing an educational experience as part of your application that is really fit for your purpose. So whatever your career is, if you're doing qualitative and quantitative sciences, you may need to have some formal didactic training in those areas. If you have some very informatics, genomics-based research methods as part of what you would envision in your career and in your research, maybe you need to take some formal didactic training in those areas. Okay, so again, individualized program. You pick the coursework, the seminars, workshops. There might be international or national workshops that are held, annually for 1 week or 2 weeks out of the year in the summer or in the winter or whatever it is, and that really fit exactly what you want to do. You can put that in as your kind of educational program. But of course, at the end of the day, these applications will be reviewed, and program leadership, like Aaron and myself, will have to review the education to make sure that it fits within the K-12 program. Next slide. So our process, you're going to hear about, you heard about how you can at least self-determine eligibility, but when we take in these applications, we will be reviewing those. You heard about some of the application process, and then there is a selection process. Once you've submitted these applications, we're going to be going through all of these very carefully to select the final scholars that will be in the new class. Next slide. All right, the application deadline, March 20th. It may sound like it's a long ways away, or maybe some of you think that it's a short ways away, subjective, but objectively, that's when it is, and it's going to be at the close of business day at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a web-based application process, so be sure to secure the active link there. UMBC must request the link because I guess it's probably restricted to those on the UMB campus initially. So you'll have to just make sure that you get access to it. Be aware that you have to have a cover letter. You need to briefly note any information you think provides additional clarity to your application materials. And again, this is your way to sell yourself as why you should be selected as a K-12 scholar and why you have a compelling argument that you have promise for an academic scientific career in research. Personal statement should be about 2 to 3 pages. You should have a research plan that is around 2 to 5 pages. I would say the more detail, the better if you're able to provide it. And if you have preliminary data, certainly provide it. And you certainly want to think about it just like you would think about any other K application or R application where you have specific aims, you have a research plan, you have preliminary data, you provide your methodology, your statistical analysis plan, pitfalls, sections, those sorts of things. You need to have a plan in your application that describes your advanced training, which includes whether you're going to get the master's degree, the certificate, workshops, other training as well. That should be about 1 to 2 pages. And a mentorship plan, team, describing your mentorship team. Next slide. All right, include your CV, which should have your list of publications, current, past, grant support. You should have nomination letter written by your primary mentor. You also need to have one from your division and or department head. And that's where, again, we want you to be, make sure that that letter of support from your division or department head provides the specific language that says that you will be have that protected time of between 50 and 75%. Now, the 50% is traditionally for like surgeons or other careers in which there is a lot of procedure time in which they need to spend to continue to have that experience to be kind of clinically relevant. 75% is more of the standard protected time that we expect from other disciplines. Okay, so 75% is kind of the default. 50% is really the special situations. And again, those letters need to be emailed separately from the application. You need to have mentors' bio sketches. And again, you want to have multiple mentors. It would be the best scenario, interdisciplinary, demonstrating that you've covered all the different aspects of mentorship that you need to have your research and your career successful. 2 other additional letters of recommendation. Again, those could be from those interdisciplinary mentoring team members. Unofficial transcripts from all degree granting academic institutions in which, again, you're demonstrating your professional career. Next slide. There's an application review timeline. This is roughly what it'll look like. So you're submitting March 20th. Meanwhile, Aaron and I and our team are going to be reviewing that, and we're hoping to have our written reviews finalized by May. So between March and May, you won't hear much from us. But by May, we will have then invited the final candidates that have come through that review process for individual interviews. And after that, we will then select, based on those interviews, the class of 2026. And so hopefully we're going to have that by mid-June. So again, we hope that this doesn't get off track, but that those are our plans. Next slide. So the summary is eligibility again. You have to have citizenship or something. So again, if you're a foreign grad and you are on a visa, unfortunately, you will not be eligible. You have to have a clinically relevant doctoral degree with a research-focused career. You have to have a faculty appointment, but no longer than 5 years. The application, please look at the RFA call for applications document carefully, but I think that hopefully today we've described all of the real major elements. You need to meet with your mentors and really come to an agreement because you're going to put together that mentoring team. You have to have the nomination support of your division or departmental chair to be able to write that letter of support and document your protected time. You have to complete the application online. And you also, meanwhile, because of that requirement of the certificate or master's degree program, concurrently, you need to be thinking about making sure that you're enrolling into that program in anticipation of it. And then selection. Just know that there's an eligibility screening that we're going to be undergoing. There'll be the invitation for the interviews based upon the selection committee's review of applications, and then there will be the final selection according to that timeline that you already saw. Next and last slide, I believe. Any questions, please look at our website if you're listening to this as a taped option. And if you also have questions that are not addressed through our website or through this today, then please feel free to email our administrator, Lena. Thanks very much, everyone. So I think now we'll go into question and answer. Sorry, Wanda, I interrupted.
Do you want to give Dr. Hu the opportunity to just give a few perspective, like a little bit of his perspective on?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Dr. Hu, there you are. Very good.
Yeah,
would you like
hi.
to provide just a little bit of your perspective on what it was like to be a scholar and how it advanced your career, some of the benefits that you experienced, or some things that our prospective applicants may want to consider before they apply?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Yeah, I think the K12 at that time, back when I was doing it, was the KL2. It was really invaluable. I felt like it was so important that I actually, I went through the application cycle twice. First cycle I went through it, I did not get it, but I thought I had a very promising score. So it was nice to also have the experience of getting reviewer feedback and learning how to revise and strengthen an application. So that in itself was a really good experience. But when I did it, it was NIH NCATS supported the salary, I believe. So it sounds like that's a little bit different if the salary support is coming from department now. So that part of it was a motivator back when I was applying. I think I started it in 2022. But I think even external salary support aside, there are just a lot of advantages to having 2 or 3 year experience on a K12. I think, just to let the people know, like, after the K12, about 15 months or so in, I applied for the KO8 through NCI, got the KO8. So I exited the K12 program at the end of year 2. And so now I've been on the KO8 since July 2024. And so I think having applied for the K12, even the application process was incredibly helpful because the format is a little bit like a truncated K08 application. It's got all the same parts. And I took the CARDI K Club class with Mary Shriver, which was really great, and it helped create a K08 draft, which was also very similar to the K12 draft, K12 application. So it was not a whole lot of reinventing the wheel to go from the K12 application to the K08 application. It felt like a shortcut to getting a nice K08 application together, even just from that previous work. The other thing that I think was so incredibly valuable, especially if you're relatively new to the faculty, is as everyone knows, right, when you apply for these NIH funds, the research track record with your collaborators is so important. And especially if you're applying for a K, then the research track record with your mentor is incredibly important. So I think having 2 years to have an opportunity to work with your mentorship team, have collaborative papers, even if it's reviews or what have you, those all count towards your eventual K08 application to show that you've got demonstrated productivity with your mentorship team. So money aside, I think just having that time to work with your mentor and prove that track record was probably the most helpful thing for my eventual external application. And so now, I just submitted my PCORI, broad pragmatic study, so that that would be an independent equivalent. And even now, started the K12 in 2022. Now it's 2026. I'm still referencing that track record that was really born out of the K12. So I think that extra 2 years really pays dividends for probably 5-10 years later. The other things to consider, the master's program. So I did, as Dr. Chen said, I did the master's in epidemiology clinical research. One thing to just have in the back of your mind somewhere is that if you're planning to go K12 to K08, of course, the K08 will still require some justification for need for additional training. So on my side, because I exited the K12 in year 2, and I had applied for the K08 in the very beginning of year 2, I was not really close to finishing the master's program through the K12. So I think that actually kind of worked nicely because I could still on the K08 application very easily justify the additional training needed since I was kind of partway through the master's program. But it also helps if even beyond the master's didactics, if you have additional training that you wanted to get, either clinical training or hands-on research training, if you wanted to go from a master's to a PhD, if you've got task-related courses through various societies that you wanted to use to further your training, just have in mind that you don't want to get all of your research training done in those 2-3 years of the K12 if you do plan on moving to a K08. Obviously, if you're going to move to the R01, then it doesn't matter. So yeah, I think that was all really, really valuable. I found all the seminars great. Collaborating with other junior researchers was fantastic. Really couldn't say enough about the mentorship that I had on the K12. And overall, I think it was a really great experience.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Hu. I think what I'm going to do now is just start to unmute anyone that's attending so that they have an opportunity to ask questions. Let me just start with this.
Wanda, do you want to just call out names, or are we going to wait for people to raise their hands for questions?
Yes, anyone,
Okay.
please do raise your hand, or you can add your question into the chat. We did put some links in the chat to the document that outlines all of a pretty extensive list of the kind of programs that you can consider participating in. So we invite you to look at that document and then the application, the web page that has the application link in it. Also, or I should say, it has the RFA plus If you're a UMB employee, you will use the UMB link. If you're College Park or UMBC, you will be requesting the link, and we will send that out to you right away. It's just because the College Park and UMBC do not have the UMID that's necessary to log into the application, but we have a way to go around that. So you just need to ask us.
Any questions for us? Oh, I see Brianna.
Hi. I have a few questions, but I can, if other people have questions, I
You're
can take
first. Go
turns
ahead.
there.
Go.
So I'm a postdoctoral associate at UMCP, and so I currently have a full-time professional track faculty appointment. Um, does that count as being a junior faculty member, or would I need to move into an assistant research professor position before?
Yes. So I think we are looking for an appointment beyond the postdoc associate, so that if at College Park, I think research associate would be considered appropriate for this award, or assistant professor. And I think there's a few others as well. Do you have a plan from your department for a promotion around July 1?
Yes, within the next few months, I should be either in a research scientist position or assistant research professor.
Okay. So I believe what we've done in those cases is we've had a letter from the department chair explaining what the trajectory is and what the timing is, and you would provide that as part of your packet to us.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And to further elaborate, so if for example, this official appointment is not going to be July and it might be, say, August, September, if that's in the letter, say it's August 31st for whatever reason, uh, that if that's the official date of appointment, then we could still select you, but your official start of the K12 would not be until you officially started as a faculty member. So again, uh, kudos for moving from the postdoctoral to a junior faculty position. You just need to provide that material through the letter of support from your either department or division head, and document both the time of your appointment, what that rank is, and then also that you have that protected time as well. So you need to secure that in the letter of support. And it needs to also state that it's not, your support of 75% or whatever it would be not contingent upon getting this award. So in other words, you're getting it no matter what. It's gravy on top if you were to get it. And of course, it would be great for your career, but for the department level, they should not be making that decision based on this award.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Other questions? We have about 5 minutes left for additional questions.
If nobody else does, I have a follow-up if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
The protected time, does that need to be like a hard funded line through the department, or can that be grant funding or something else?
So
I
I
think it
think
has
it's
to
a
be determined internally with your department. Now, at UMB, most of the schools do not provide hard funding for the research scientists. So they're really the realistic is research funding. At College Park, if you are able to secure hard funding, great. If it's a combination, so again, in other words, if you have your primary mentor has a number of research programs, that 25% that you're supported on, you have to figure out. But this 75% protected time really has to be, even if it's from hard money or soft money that from your primary mentor or whatever, you still have to be protected. So you can't be expected to have your research project and do your research project despite your funding from another soft source. So again, I'm trying to say that it internally has to be negotiated, and how your department will support you has to be kind of internally negotiated as well. I hope I kind of addressed it, because I didn't want to put hard parameters, stipulations to make it even more difficult to have a little bit of flexibility, but there still has to be your independence, your ability to have true protected time to do your research and education, and that should be 75%.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I don't know, Wanda, if you have a different way of answering it, but I didn't want it to be strictly hard monies, and implementing soft money, grant money is a little bit nuanced different. So from divisions, departments, and investigators. So that's why I kind of answered it that way.
I think that the most important part here is that whether if it's 50% protected time or 75% protected time, and that depends upon your specialty. I know that surgeons typically it's 50% because they have to have a certain amount of effort that's committed to their specialty in order to progress. But that 75% or 50% protected time really should be devoted to the activities in the program, meaning the research that you're doing with the program that's associated with your project, as well as the education and attending the seminars and etc. It's to have 50% protected time or 75% protected time when a chunk of that is being devoted to some other funded project that's outside of your K might be definitely a problem.
And Aaron, can you comment maybe with either the K-12 or other programs that you supervise? If there's I guess I just wanted to make sure that we're giving Brianna the best answer.
Yeah, Brianna, I'm curious if you have a specific scenario that you're worried about that maybe we could address. So, are you seeking a foundation grant that you're worried about overlap? And are you worried about your department asking you to teach more or something? Do you have a more specific concern that we could address?
Um, just at the moment, I'm about 80% grant funded and then about 20% teaching. So the grant funding should be over the next 2.5 years. But yeah, the grant funding I'm currently like obliged to work on those projects. So I was just wondering like where
Sure. Okay.
the funding would come from, I guess, that would
Yeah.
allow me to do that.
So we would expect some of your requirements towards those grants that are not your own grants. Sounds like maybe you're working on someone else's R01, for example. We would expect you to be relieved of some of those duties or some of the teaching or a combination. The K-12 is supporting your research, not the research of your collaborators or a mentor in your position.
Okay.
If you, for example, receive a foundation award that is your own research, we look at that a little bit differently, is my best way to say it. But it sounds like you're, as a postdoc, which is often what we see with postdocs, are working on someone else's project as support faculty.
Yes. Yeah, currently I'm
So yeah, we're looking for your time to be devoted to your own research.
okay. Thank you.
I think that's what is really exciting about this program is that it really does, it's in place to help build you as a researcher, as an independent researcher. And that's what the education plan and the seminars and that protected time are to help you to become an independent researcher. And with the K program, there's been a lot of success of the participants in this program becoming successful with getting a follow-up K or an independent R. So it's a great program to be in if research, clinical translational research is something that is important to you for your future.
Well, thank you all for joining us. We're leaving you with a number of resources to review and some opportunities, some places you can ask questions as you go through the process and decide what your path might be. So please take advantage of those, and we hope to see applications from many of you by March 20th.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Wilbur.
Thank you, team.